So let's look at Rev's video then, because chat, gamers are fighting back. We are fighting back in the best way possible, not by going to our governments, but by going after Visa and MasterCard directly. Love to see it happen, so let's check it out.
Hey, what's up guys, Rev here. So I don't know about you, but it feels like we're entering a new era of censorship. Whether it's the new age verification system that has gone into effect in the UK, or the looming ban on VPNs that also is existing in the UK.
Yes. That's all of you guys that were talking about with the stuff in the UK and just saying, just use a VPN, they're shutting down VPNs in the UK. That's why using a VPN to try and bypass the UK's authentication requirements or ID requirements won't work. They're blocking and moving on banning VPNs entirely over in the UK.
Or the fact that similar bills are being introduced to the United States, or the fact that thousands of games have been banned across multiple platforms. It really feels like censorship is ramping up at an alarming rate. Now, when anyone...
Yeah, sorry, Red, I'm going to be pausing a lot on this to throw my 2 cents in. Yeah, this is what I said yesterday. We're on a fucking bullet train towards totalitarianism right now, between the governments and between the credit card companies. Both of them coming from both sides, and both of them saying, we will be the ones to tell you what you can say, what you cannot say, what you can purchase, what you cannot purchase, what you can think, and what you cannot think. They are speed running this shit right now. And that's why I was so fucking hyper emotional yesterday, is that thought was just racing around through my head like all day. No, I talked about that yesterday, about Wikipedia. Didn't hear about Apple, but I did talk about Wikipedia trying, bringing suit against the UK government. I'm not going to get into it because that's involved. I put out a video about it on YouTube from my stream yesterday. Feel free to watch that if you like, but I did mention Wikipedia. I missed the part about Apple. I didn't know that Apple was also going to sue. So that one could be very interesting.
Says, woke is dead or censorship is dead. They're not seeing the full picture. This stuff is still alive as ever. Censorship is being pushed extremely hard right now. And you can see there's pushback. Visa and MasterCard are getting overwhelmed by gamer fury over censorship. And that happens after thousands of games have been banned thanks to the efforts of small groups that are targeting these payment processors and making them put pressure on these platforms to ban certain games. And it's working, and that is the part that is really scary. It's not just the 18-plus hentai games or stuff like that. It's also horror games. That's the new development we're looking at today. And on top of that, there's...
Okay. This is new. This is new to me. They're now also trying to censor horror games. This is the new fucking meta for them? To try and get rid of horror games? Oh, this is not going to go well. The adult games were, you could say that they were kind of niche. You go after the horror games? Oh, fuck no. Now you're gonna piss off a lot of gamers, and gamers will not be fucking quiet. Trying to get rid of horror games. Horror games are some of the best-selling games right now. Those are literally some of the best-selling and most popular games on the market right now. You go after horror games, shit on fucked up. And Kick Clips, thank you for the follow.
Way more to look at when it comes
Not
to
censored. Shut the fuck down, Mars.
The main group that is initiating all of this. They're even going as far as to start making these vague threats against content creators who dare to call out their lies and BS. Now, it's not all doom and gloom today. Here's a good piece of news before we get into today's topic. So, as many of you are already aware, I have a summer drop with Advanced GG that just launched a couple days ago. And right now, until the 1st, if you use code REV20...
T-Dog, I love you. I appreciate the passion. Calm. I appreciate the passion, V-Dog. I do. I get it. Calm. Calm. Wait. You're jumping into the anger too quick. You gotta save that. You gotta harness that. Give it a few minutes. Don't worry. We'll be ready to explode in a few minutes when we hear what this is.
At checkout, you'll get 20% off your order from these items. And you can see I got my new flavor jars, the Revs Shark Bait Lemonade flavor here.
Clips. I kind of like
Rocket
gum.
Pop has returned with a new label. This is a fan favorite flavor. And then we have Revs Based Berry Blast, which is a new flavor. It's berry based, obviously. And you can see those 3 flavor jars and also some new clothing as well. This is new stuff here. You can pre-order.
Okay. Side tangent. Question. Has anybody tried Advanced GG? Out of curiosity, has anyone ever tried any of the flavors from Advanced GG? Just out of curiosity? Okay. Moose, your opinion, please. I've never tried Advanced GG. Moose, Heckle, what's your opinion on them? You have strawberry shortcake and it's pretty good. Okay. Street, you like them better than Gamer Sons. Okay. I'm just curious because I've never had occasion to try anything from Advanced GG, and obviously we don't hear too much about Advanced GG. So I was just curious, if they are tasty. I was just genuinely curious if they have some tasty flavors, if they're good. So it's just genuine curiosity.
And also, one of our ice shakers have been brought
Maybe.
back, so you can pair that up with a flavor jar if you so choose. I'll put a link to this in the pinned comment. And again, use code REV20.
Stefan, that's next on the bucket, I think.
This new drop.
I
the
don't.
Support on this
I
is
said
greatly
that.
appreciated, and it leads to future campaigns as well. Thanks, guys, for the big support on this. Now let's get back into today's topic. So, about a week ago, we talked about this group called Collective Shout. In their description, they say grassroots campaign movement against the objectification of women and sexualization of girls in media, advertising, and popular culture. This is a very small group of feminists based out of Australia who, after many years of tiny victories, all of a sudden claims responsibility for thousands of...
Tornado? I'll let that cook. Rez may bring that up. Let's give Rev a chance to see if he brings that up about Collective Shout. If he doesn't, I will. Don't worry.
Of games being banned across multiple platforms. And as you can see, their account is private because they're losing the plot. They're losing...
And by the way, they tried, from what I understand, I think they tried to public their Twitter account. After the first time they went private, Emperor, chat, no spoilers. I will explain it. If Rev doesn't talk about it, I will explain the whole thing with cuties. But Collective Shout actually did come off of private on Twitter very temporarily. They got the crap bombarded out of them. And then they went private again. So they tried to come up out of private and instantly just got dogpiled, and they immediately went private again.
The war on social media, the free speech campaign where people are criticizing them, they're getting hammered, whether it's directly through this account or their employees. They're getting smashed because they are nothing but people
That's the argument.
trying to push their agenda. They are masquerading as some sort of effort to save young girls from exploitation, but in reality, their efforts don't line up with what they're doing. In fact, they put way more importance on video games than they do protecting actual children. This is a giant farce. This is their attempt.
Yes, I said this before. Where are they for the protection of the sex workers in Australia? Because they are based out of Australia. Why are they not going after the actual objectification or pedo stuff that is occurring in Australia? Because I'm sure Australia, it probably has its share of that. Why are they not going after the freaking child rings that are out there? Or literal child exploitation of real girls? Why aren't they going after that? Because they're actually supporting it. In real life, they're actually supporting it with cuties. Yeah. Okay, on the offhand chance that he's not going to talk about it.
With the censorship on the horror genre, the final girl will reach the final end of their story with death.
Yeah, I don't know about that, Chaos. But, okay, in case Brad doesn't talk about it, I will talk about it with the whole thing with Cuties. So, for those of you that are unfamiliar with either Cuties or the situation with Collective Shout behind them, Cuties was a Netflix movie. This was a Netflix exclusive movie. It was a French movie. Bear in mind, this was French. It was not an American film. It was a French film that basically starred four, I want to say they were 12-year-old girls. That was all about them doing, like, becoming part of, like, a dance group of booty girls, where they were basically, their entire dancing was hyper-sexualized dancing, like the kind of dancing you'd see in like a hip-hop club or something. The girls in hip-hop clubs that are doing those insanely sexualized tweaking, like twerking dances. They were 12 years old. It was focused on them doing this kind of dancing. They sexualized the fuck out of these girls. And these were actual girls. These were actual 12-year-old kids that were the actors. Collective Shout supported it. Collective Shout, specifically the head of Collective Shout, supported Cuties. They actually posted on Twitter that they were supportive of Cuties, which was literally the definition of objectification and sexualization of young girls. That is Collective Shout. They claim to be against the objectification of women and sexualization of girls in media, but they were all for Cuties. And then they tried to pull this backpedal, like, oh, no, we're supportive of it because it's bringing light to this issue, which is bullshit. Because the whole point of the movie was making them heroes for acting like basically mini whores. Bearing in mind, there's a fucking scene in the movie where one of the girls, for the purposes of blackmail, takes... I'm trying to remember if it was... And bearing in mind, I've only heard about this. I never saw the movie. Okay, I've never seen the movie. I've only heard about the movie from people who have reviewed it. There is a scene in the movie where one of these girls, to blackmail a guy, takes his phone, shoves it down her pants, and takes a picture of her private parts with the phone, so it's stored on his phone, in order to blackmail him. Saying, you have a picture of my junk on your phone, so you better do what I say, or I'm gonna report you. Or something to that. But yeah, it was like her stepfather or something, Reaper. Yeah, literally takes a picture of her private parts as blackmail. That is how fucked up this movie is. And Collective Shout supported it. They publicly supported it. So all of this is bullshit. Every single one of this is bullshit. They're just trying to exert power and authority because they don't like something, and they're gonna pretend like it's valuable.
Here's a question. It's his phone. Why didn't he just delete the picture?
Well, Leo, I don't know. Like I said, I didn't see the movie. I only heard about this in reviews, so I'm thinking there was something more than that. It probably went beyond her just taking the picture, so I don't know, but I do know that that was a scene in the movie. Now, why he couldn't just delete it, I don't know. Maybe she retained the phone and threatened to go take it to the police. Who the fuck knows? I don't know. All I know is it was fucking disgusting. And they were behind it. They were supportive of it.
At controlling the narrative and getting games banned across the way, including...
By the way, before I forget, because holy crap, it just had a whole bunch of follows. Luchita Fari, Kibby C, Demaria, HM, Maria, and Mason, thank you all for the follows. You guys all came in so quick, fast, in a hurry, right in the middle of my rant. I'm so sorry I didn't get a chance to say thank you, but thank you guys all.
Horror games, as we will see in just a moment. Basically, Collective Shout is a useful idiot. Basically, they opened the door. They somehow found the golden way of approaching these bans, and that is putting pressure on payment processors. And now the floodgates have opened and everyone's jumping in the door they just opened, and now, well, games are getting banned by the thousands and things are looking really bad. Like I said, they got small victories over the years. I mean, this was something they celebrated for a very long
I don't agree with calling this a small victory. They got targeting Kmart, and bearing in mind, this is only in Australia. This only occurred in Australia. It did not happen outside of Australia. They got targeting Kmart to pull GTA 5 off the shelves because it depicted, quote, violence against women. Ignoring, of course, that the entire game of Grand Theft Auto is killing everyone in sight, but because they said because you could kill women, and that there was the whole sexual violence thing, they got it pulled from Target and Kmart. One of the biggest games ever made. This is one of the most popular games of all time, and they got it pulled from Target and Kmart in Australia. I don't consider that a small win. I consider that significant, given the game in question. So let's not fuck with that.
Long time getting Target and Kmart to remove GTA 5 from their stores.
And thank you,
in
Sergio.
Australia. Now, all these efforts were laughed at because the main account, as well as several of the employees of Collective Shout, have openly and viciously defended the Netflix film Cuties, which has sexually exploited hundreds of real children in its filming. In fact, you can see from the main account saying in its filming, and I believe there was also some mention about the casting too. Like when they did the casting, the sexual humiliation of sorts happened during the casting process as well. And here's where I'm talking about where they're trying to walk it back. An ethically problematic but powerful protest against the sexualization of girls. Here's the problem with that statement. It wasn't a protest against the sexualization of girls. It was championing it. No, I don't think they went to the level of couch casting Caucasian. I don't believe they went that level. I'm not making an accusation that Netflix did anything inappropriate to any of the girls that were part of the casting. But I'm thinking that they made them do like the dances, which were highly sexualized as part of the casting process. But Cuties wasn't a protest against the sexualization of girls. Cuties was championing it. Cuties was all about sexualizing young girls. They were a dance troupe doing highly sexual dances. They were doing a competition in which they were doing highly sexualized dances. So this was not a protest in any way, shape, or form. Oh, Moose, that's already been said. It has already been shouted that someone needs to check their hard drives. They absolutely need to check their hard drives. Oh yeah, Kicklets, I haven't seen it. Thank fucking God. But everything I've heard is that the movie was disgusting in the way it presented these young girls. Like, and that's the crazy part. This is the crazy part. The very people that Collective Shout are saying you people are evil for playing these various video games, like the NSFW games, and now they're going after the horror games saying, oh, this is disgusting. You shouldn't be allowed to play this. The very people that they're trying to take these games away from are the same ones that decried Cuties and called Cuties disgusting because it sexualized these girls. And I know the gamers that they are now pissing off were the ones that were saying Cuties is disgusting. It was a movie that should never have been made. It grossly sexualizes the girls. The casting process was objectively humiliating to these girls, but having to do these dances. Every single one of these gamers was against Cuties and called it out for being disgusting. Collective Shout was all for it and mischaracterizing it as a protest against the sexualization. I'm just going to point that out. It's fucking Uno reversed here.
And now all of a sudden they're saying they are the moral arbiters of video games. Go fuck yourself, collective shout.
It's a powerful protest against the sexualization of girls. And how did Cuties achieve that goal? By sexually exploiting real children. It's literally a movie about...
I never saw Cuties because of the sexualization of young girls.
DJ, many people would never saw it because of that very reason. The vast majority of the Netflix viewing public would refuse to watch Cuties and actually called for it to be removed from the Netflix catalog. Street, I do not know. I had not heard about that. If one of them did, that is horrific if one of those girls chose to take her own life. I have not heard that though, so I have no idea. But there was a huge push against Netflix to take the movie down because of this. Like almost everybody wanted Cuties off the platform. After the trailer, people were saying, Netflix, you shouldn't put this out. This is disgusting. You should get rid of this and get it off your catalog.
11 to 12-year-old kids doing a twerk
yeah,
off
that's
while
what I was saying earlier.
Skimpy clothing. It's disgusting. It's exploitative material, and they defend that, but they want to ban games like GTA and even horror games, as we will see today. So, like I said, for years they were largely ignored, but they came up with a new strategy, and that is to put pressure on Visa and MasterCard. In case you don't know, payment processors like them dominate the field. If you lose Visa and MasterCard, if they remove their services from your platform, you're going broke. You've lost basically your entire monetization just like that. And people like myself, I hate to be like the person who said I told you so, but this happened in Japan about 2 years ago. That's when it started, when we saw this pattern and no one cared. A lot of people were basically saying, oh, well, who cares?
Yeah, and he's talking about, I forget the name of the company, but it was basically a dating site. The Visa MasterCard, and I don't know if Collective Shout was involved in this. I hadn't heard, but it was that I know at the very least the payment processor did. There was an otaku dating website in Japan that got shut down by Visa and MasterCard. They said, we're not going to allow payment processing for you because we think your site, which is just a dating site, is inappropriate. And we don't like it, so we're not going to do payment processing, and the site had to shut down. And they did, and they've done it to itch.io, they did it to Steam, they did it to I think they did it to another Japanese company. I'm blanking on it. There was another Japanese, maybe Rev will bring it up, but I still believe that it goes back even further. I think it goes back even further than 2 years ago. I think that the changes in Patreon and DeviantArt it will result of Visa and MasterCard putting their boot on their necks. Now, whether or not Collective Shout was involved with that, I don't know. Okay, Brent, I'm sorry about the delete. That was the auto mod that did that. I don't think you did anything. Oh, that's horrific though. But our mods didn't delete that. The auto mod did, but I'm able to see it. Brent, I don't know. My guess is because you were talking about that with the children being abused. Yeah, that's my guess. It was the auto mod that caught it, but you're okay. You're fine. Don't worry. But with DeviantArt and Patreon, they changed their TOS several years back to disclude like highly sexualized stuff. My guess is that's from Visa and MasterCard too. My guess is Visa and MasterCard put their boot down on them too. Whether or not Collective Shout was involved, that I have no idea. But it's like this is reaching far back. We're only hearing about it now because they did it to Steam. And Steam is probably the biggest game distributor in the world. And so when they did it to Steam, they caught the attention. And they probably caught maybe they thought because they were going after NSFW stuff that they might have been able to slide under the radar a little bit. They grossly misunderestimated gamers on this one. So now they're catching all the attention. And now they're going after horror games, which is like, okay, now you are pissing off the entire gaming community. Good fucking job. You just raised an army against yourself. Bravo.
The stupid hentai games have now been removed from stores and catalogs and what have you.
Sorry, Rev. Yes, well, Steam outed them because when they put out the new terms of service for people uploading who want to put games onto Steam, they added in a 16th rule that said that when you list a game on Steam, it has to comply with their payment processors. They put a specific new rule in. Was it 15th? I thought it was 16th. 15th or 16th, doesn't matter. Steam put out a new rule in the rules for when you want to list a game on Steam that your game must comply with the payment processor's wishes, in addition to Steam's own TOS. So that's how Steam outed them. They said, the payment processors are making us do this, so you have to comply with the payment processors. Just like itch.io also said that, like we had to pull all these down to comply with our payment processors' wishes. So anybody that's getting affected by this, they're basically, they're happily throwing Visa and MasterCard on the bus by saying, we have to do this because of our payment processors. Yes, correct, Caucasian. Correct. They implemented credit card TOS on top of their own. Absolutely. And Hasselhoff, Britton, and oh crap, I'm missing people. And Fellis and Lust and Ready, thank you all for the follows also. PayPal went after competitors to Patreon. Yeah. It's like this is basically a big example of why the payment processors have way too much fucking power in the world. The payment say what you will about all the other companies that you think that have a lot of power. Visa and MasterCard probably have some of the highest levels of power over the entire planet. Because in the modern day, you cannot have a business without Visa and MasterCard. Because they not only do credit card transactions, they also do debit transactions, because those are backed by Visa, and they also and you can't, and it's the only way to do one of the only ways to do online transactions. So they have a vice grip on the throats of the planet in terms of you will do what we say or we will cut off your ability to do business.
Stupid hentai games have now been removed from stores and catalogs and what have you. And now it's expanding way beyond just that, and the people who are cheering on that censorship are going, whoa, wait a second, this isn't good. Because right now, this strategy has been extremely effective for Collective Shout. A very small group that should have no influence whatsoever has somehow gotten thousands of games banned in a very short period of time using this new strategy, and it's completely ridiculous. And even Steam is feeling the pressure, where they've made a new rule stating this. Content that may violate the rules and standards set forth by Steam's payment processors and related card networks and banks or internet network providers.
Yeah, and that's another scary one. Or internet network providers. Yeah, your ISP can dictate what websites you can go to. Even if they're 100% legal, even if there is absolutely nothing illegal about them, your ISP can dictate what websites you can go to. So if your ISP decides that they morally don't think you should be allowed to go to this porn site, they will shut you down. Because they feel, even though the website is perfectly legal, has no illegal activity taking place onto it, such as like child stuff, even though none of that is happening on there, is totally legal, your internet service provider can say, that we don't like that. We're not going to let you access it.
In particular, certain kinds of adult-only content, and that is very vague and very open. And guess what? It's backfiring, and it's being applied to way more than what people initially thought. I mean, who saw that coming? Yeah, all the people who were cheering on all these previous bans of especially Japanese games are now going, oh, wait a second. You're banning my ethical, totally normal games that also contain mature content. And now they're trying to complain about it, but it might be just a little too late. But anyways, another target of Collective Shout and these pro-censorship groups is itch.io, an open indie...
Wombat, to my understanding, no. To my understanding, if you already have purchased and downloaded the game will not be deleted off your computer. I believe the game may still be in your library. I know itch.io put out something that said if you had already purchased the game, or you already purchased the visual novel before these rules hit, you will still retain them. You will still be able to re-download them from your library. They are de-indexing them off of their platform, so you cannot search for them and you cannot get them new. So if you already have them before this took place, it will stay in your library, it will stay on your computer. So if you've already purchased any of the games or visual novels that were on Steam and itch.io that got delisted, you will still have them. Because if they tried to remove them when you'd already purchased them, that would be lawsuit worthy. Where you could, because then both itch.io and Steam, could be sued for that one. Because you lawfully purchased this. There was nothing illegal about it, so that's why Steam and itch are not deleting the games, like reaching into your computer and deleting them, or taking them out of your library, because you've already paid for that. You've already paid for a good or service, and so you are still retaining it even after it's been delisted.
Game marketplace, and they're feeling the heat quite significantly. In fact, the campaign against them is so ridiculous. Even PC Gamer, who's usually the kind of slop place you see saying the worst takes ever about gaming, even they recognize how ridiculous this is and how this is not going to accomplish anything to protect women like Collective Shout claims it will, and that basically this is going to result in a new sort of sidestepping of these platforms and rules into other places where they can still just keep on selling their games. But like I said,
yeah, there's already another company that has stepped up and said, hey, did your game get banned off itch.io? Come to us. We will happily platform your game. So there are other companies that when Collective Shout and the credit card companies are going after them, that are stepping up and going, hey, if you got banned off this platform, come on over here. We'll happily platform your game. Which is wonderful that other companies are stepping up to do this. But I think it's a temporary measure, because what is to stop at the Reaper? Honestly, I can't remember what distributor did that. It was several days ago. I cannot remember the name of the distributor, honestly. But it is only a stall tactic, because what happens when the credit card companies then turn their sights on this other company that has said, okay, we'll be happy to platform your game. Yeah, and and Visa is gonna basically be playing whack-a-mole. Like okay, all these devs that got kicked off itch, they go to this other platform. Well, then Visa sets their sight on them and says, okay, get rid of them or we shut you down. Then another platform might step up, and it's basically just over and over and over again.
It's not just the gooner bait games, as people will say. We now have horror games getting caught in the mix. This post saying, Vile Exhumed is banned on Steam. Mouthwashing removed on itch.io.
Okay, this caught a lot of traction. The mouthwashing game. Can someone very basically explain to me what this game Mouthwashing is? This caught a lot of traction on social media like Twitter, where people were just raging about it. Can someone please explain to me what this game is? It's a psychological horror game. It's like Fear. Okay, so it's just a horror game. Okay. And of course oh, that's not going to go well. So, all right.
We will return to that in just a second. And then 3, Fear and Hunger shadow banned on itch.io. So there are horror games getting banned on Steam and shadow banned on itch.io. And this is a very concerning thing.
Oh my God.
Honestly, the natural conclusion of everything we've been talking about. This is how it's going to work. It's going to keep extending and extending and extending. And now some people are like, whoa, what's going on here? Well, people have been calling this out for years. And
yes, I called this out 2 weeks ago. When this first popped off, I was calling this out. I was saying, what makes you think they're going to stop at NSFW? I said exactly that. What makes you think they're going to stop at NSFW? What makes you think they're not going to go after every other kind of game because they deem it to be not within their moral code? I said almost exactly that weeks ago. I was calling this out. Because that's what they're doing. That's what they're going to do. They're with the mouthwash game. So a girl was sexually assaulted in her backstory, and thus banned. But again, I will point out, this is not glorify the assault. The purpose of having that in the game is not to glorify the assault. It's to elicit a sense of horror in the person that this is very fucked up, that this person was sexually assaulted in her backstory. You are supposed to feel horror for this. Yet Collective Shout says, oh no, you can't have that. No, you have to take that game down because there's sexual assault in the backstory. Just even to mention it has us clutching our pearls. But we're fine with 12-year-olds dancing around like they're getting fucked. We're fine with the 12-year-old girls acting like, dancing like they're a bunch of hookers or they're a bunch of whores. We're totally cool with that. But this, oh no. Get rid of that immediately. Credit card companies, get them. How thicked up is this? We are living in fucking opposite world right now.
It got largely ignored. Now, of course, we have to talk about mouthwashing. On this post, it's reported as removed. I don't blame this person because there was a lot of misinformation going on yesterday. In fact, I'm glad I didn't talk about this yesterday and went with something else because there was a very confusing picture being made. So Mouthwashing is an indie game that was enormously successful, and it's one that came with an interesting set of controversies involving one of the people who worked on this game, as we will see in just a second. But this is the person right here, Martin, who said that yesterday Mouthwashing got yoinked from itch search results, basically saying it's been shadow banned, right? And he down here says, not surprised, was kind of waiting for it to happen. And then someone asks, wait, why? And this is very important. He says payment processors like MasterCard/Visa have been pushed by an activist group, Collective Shout, to deplatform not safe for work content on many major platforms, including itch. Collective Shout has tried to go after Steam, but were unsuccessful, so they started targeting payment processors instead. This paints a very clear picture that the payment processors were responsible for getting this removed. Collective Shout through the payment processors. And things will get complicated. Number one.
Well, Caucasian, that's the question I've been asking. I've been asking this from the very beginning. Why are the mega corporations of Visa and MasterCard listening to this small group of reeing Terrans saying, get rid of this? I racked my brain on this to try and figure out why. The only thing I can think of why they listen to it is they basically use them as an excuse. So this way, as a scapegoat, Bandlord, yes. This way, when Visa and MasterCard go after these companies for these games, and people start calling out Visa and MasterCard, they can say, oh, well, this lobbying group, informed us about this, so we felt we should act. When the reality is, it's Visa and MasterCard exercising their own moral superiority over these companies, saying, we, as the credit card companies, are morally superior to you, and we do not think that you should be allowed to sell these kinds of games, irregardless of whether or not they are legal or not. It matters not that they are legal. We do not think that you should be allowed to sell these games because we are morally superior to you. And they're using Collective Shout as basically their shield for saying, these guys told us that we should do it, and we agree with their sentiment. So they're essentially throwing a collective shout under the bus. Realistically speaking, if some other group came to
If buying
them,
a digital product doesn't confer ownership, then pirating it isn't a crime. Prove me wrong.
that's been the argument. But let's not fuck with this, because if it was a collective shout, it would have been another small activist group that took this tactic. So, you know, collective shout is bad all in its own. No, I'm not arguing that point at all. But the Visa and MasterCard made the decision to do this. They're just using collective shout as the excuse. It could have been any other activist group that approached them for the same reason and just said, "Hey, we don't like this," and Visa and MasterCard went, "Yeah, we don't like it either. Okay." So let's be realistic about this as to why Visa and MasterCard are doing it.
Because people like Hypnotic or Grum's reporting on this are seeing their posts about it getting restricted, which has to do with the new UK age verification law that's going into effect. That's a topic for another day. It's very complicated, having very widespread and unintended results. I think these results are very intended, but we'll talk about that another time, but just something to point out. Now, going back to Martin here, he's someone who worked on the audio and music of Mouthwashing, and he originally left a bad taste in the mouth, no pun intended, of many people who were playing this game or were interested in playing this game, because when Asmongold made a video not only defending an artist being harassed for making artwork of a character that people thought was problematic, he also went out and played the game and really enjoyed it and promoted it to his audience. And this is how Martin, as a member of the team that made the game, responded, saying, "The anti-woke crowd has found the game, and I feel sick to my effing stomach. Being on Twitter is going to be unbelievably painful from now on, that I don't know if I can be active on here. I don't have the energy for this." Well, unfortunately...
Wait, hang on. He's upset because Asmongold talked about it, played the game, and said he liked it. And then, so the people in his community might be inclined to go check the game out and play it, because Asmon played and he said, "Hey, this is a good game." And he doesn't like this? This has him sick to his stomach? So this guy only wants certain people play. So this guy is presenting himself as being... Reaper, actually, he's not real mad over nothing. He basically just exposed himself. He just exposed himself as someone that only wants people to play the game that are of a specific ideology. He does to him. It's not, "Hey, you know, we made a game that we would like people to play. We hope people have fun with the game, and anybody can play it. Our game is for anybody." And he came out and said, "Well, I only want people that are woke to play it." My fucking brain is hurting from the level of stupidity of this man's words. I don't... Why would you try and tank your own fucking game like this? Granted, he did the music for it. Yeah, this deserves it.
You are made of stupid.
Don't get it. How could someone be this stupid? Yeah, no, Ryan, that's why I said it's the guy who did the music. This is the guy who did the music for the game. Yeah, Vespasian, I'm forgetting my own rule number 1. You are correct. I'm forgetting my own rule number 1.
Things got more complicated yesterday when itch.io on Blue Sky as well as on Twitter made it very clear that Mouthwashing has not been indexed since October of 2024, since it doesn't meet their indexing criteria. And they're using a download button as a link to Steam. The developer took down any playable files from this page in 2024. So it has been basically a year since this game was down on itch.io. So way before any of this stuff involving Collective Shout. And of course, Martin would come on later and try to correct the record, saying that the delisting narrative he was sharing turned out to be false. Good on him for correcting the record, but a lot of people were rallying behind him because despite his previous comments about Asmongold and other people who are anti-woke, people said, hey, you know what? We might not like those comments, but what's happening with Collective Shout and Mouthwashing, that's not cool. Yeah. Okay? Even though you disagree with some of the things he said, his game should still be allowed to exist without being taken down. And now the record's been corrected, and that's not what happened. And now it's just confusing because there's only really two results. Either people like Martin were just not paying attention at all and somehow didn't realize this game wasn't even there for a year, basically, or they were trying to frame this in a way that made them look like a victim of Collective Shout and their agenda. Either
which, ironically enough, you have more than enough examples of Collective Shout fucking over gamers that you didn't need Mouthwashing. There are plenty of other examples of games that have been taken down due to Collective Shout guiding Visa and MasterCard that pointing to this one wasn't needed. Is it still listed on Steam? We'll see for how long, Leo. We'll see for how long.
Way, it's not a great look, but at the end of the day, let's make this very clear. Just because Mouthwashing was not a victim of this campaign, there were other horror games that are, whether they're getting delisted on itch.io or banned on Steam. It's happening. So just because Mouthwashing is not a part of that does not...
Yeah, but they are going after her. Because, yeah, Rev listed several games that have been delisted because of Collective Shout work, telling Visa and MasterCard, we don't like this. Mouthwashing was just one of them, and it was lumped in there improperly because it's been off itch.io since 2024. But there are multiple other horror games that did get delisted because of this.
Not erase what's happening right before our eyes. And Collective Shout is very, very proud of what they're doing. In fact, they made a Steam campaign timeline where they say,
here we go.
In response to false claims and misinformation about our campaign, we're setting the record straight. Some have asked why we involved payment processors, and others have claimed we are responsible for itch.io removing all not safe for work content.
Because you are.
Objection to R-word and incest games on Steam for months, and they ignored us for months. Good, as they should.
Yes.
We approached...
Yeah, because you know what? You can raise an objection to rape and incest games on Steam. If you want to raise a moral objection with Steam about them having these games, I don't have any objection to raising a moral objection to that to Steam. You want to say, we don't want you to have these, we're going to present our argument, and if Steam says, we don't care, well, sucks to be you, you try. I have no problem with you raising that kind of objection. Okay? That is your right as an individual for, to raise an objection to that. That's fine. But then you decide to go after the payment processor to try and force it. To force Steam to remove perfectly legal games with nothing illegal about them and force Steam to remove legal games from their platform. That's where everybody has a fucking problem. And then this looks like it's about to be a lie, but I'll let Rev read it.
Payment processors because Steam did not respond to us. We called on itch.io to remove R-word and incest games that we argued normalize violence and abuse of women. Itch.io made the decision to remove all not safe for work content.
And that's a fucking lie. That right there is a fucking lie. Because itch.io actually put a statement out on their own website about the games that were de-indexed, these rape and incest games that were de-indexed, they actually put out a statement on their website that said that we are complying with the demands of our payment processors. They actually said that the reason why these games were de-indexed, which is tantamount to removing a Matsunashi, you cannot search for them. Yeah, well, if you, again, that's the whole thing of, if you've already purchased them, you can still use them and re-download them, but you cannot newly purchase them and you cannot search for them. So they've been de-indexed. But Itch put out that notification that it was done to be in compliance with the payment processors, not because they were complying with itch.io. So this is a fucking lie. This is a fucking lie by Collective Shout to basically try and beat their chest and say, look at the good we did, when they did. They actually went crying to Daddy Credit Card and said, we don't like this, take this down. And the credit card companies are the ones that did it. Itch.io probably ignored Collective Shout, but then they had to respond when the payment processors came after them. So Collective Shout, you're a fucking liar. Go fuck yourselves. Nobody believes you. You're a bunch of piece of shit Karens.
Objections were to content that involved sexualized violence and torture of women. So here they are once again making claims with no evidence about how this is legal.
Oh, and I just clocked that. Zed, sorry about the automated thing. If you guys want to type anything about itch.io in the chat, just put itch. Don't put the .io. Yeah, just put itch. People will know what you're talking about. When you put itch.io, it tags it as being a website. Well, and the Autobot will thank you for it, unfortunately. So just put itch, and people will know what you're talking about. It said that they chose to remove all the not safe work content so they wouldn't get in trouble while they sifted through it looking for specific ones banned by the companies. Yeah, they removed it so they wouldn't get in trouble with the payment process. They specified that they were doing this at the behest of the payment processors, so they could basically be in compliance with their payment processors, not because of not to comply with Collective Shout. That is a specificity that needs to be set.
Leading to people being harmed in real life and all these things, but it appears very clear that they're proud of what they're doing. They're claiming this as a victory, and that this campaign where they're going after payment processors has been working, and also they were able to bully itch.io into removing all their not safe for work content, which is cascading into places where you don't really expect, including horror games. And Steam was something they wanted to bully. They couldn't, so like a hall monitor, they went to the payment processors and went through them instead, and unfortunately, it works. Now, there's something else very interesting going on with Collective Shout. As Bounding into Comics reports here, Collective Shout's staff are now stockpiling personal and family data on creators Smash JT and Madam Savvy and more. We need more evidence of these mafia.
Yes, I've been catching a few things on Twitter that Collective Shout is directly attacking Madam Savvy. Like, we watched her video about Collective Shout several days ago. They are going after her. They're going after her, and they're going to try and bully her with like personal information. Oh yeah, I have zero doubt that they're going to try and dox her. I have zero doubt whatsoever.
Like tactics, please keep an eye out for attempts from Collective Shout to dox their opposition. Fear is the only tactic they can trust, and that is something they have been doing through this individual.
I don't know, Moss. I don't know.
Kennedy, who is an ethics, compliance, supply chain, corp governance and behavior, blah, 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 blah. They work for Collective Shout as a campaigner. Now, they have been crashing out nonstop on Twitter. I swear almost every single thing this person says gets ratioed into the shadow realm, and also gets hit with a community note dispelling the lies they're sharing. And they make this long claim attacking Savvy in particular, basically saying she's lying, she's doing all this stuff wrong. And as you can see by the notes, the screenshots in question all bore connection to Savvy's arguments and were not at all dishonest or false whatsoever. No bullying was involved, only the spreading of public information.
Yep.
So yes, Savvy's been doing a lot of work exposing what's going on with Collective Shout. They don't like that, so they call her a liar. And here's all the proof. If you want to go through it yourself, do as you please. But it's very obvious she's raising valid
community knows
concerns
destroying
and valid
people.
points
I love it.
based on public posts. And this person's trying to deny it. And look at it. 36 likes versus 200 plus quotes dunking on them. And then down here, they say, as for our records, citing advocate for the pro-game illegal content gaming crowd, Madam Savvy and Smash JT, rubbished our winning campaign calling Brumby's Bakery to ditch a sexist slogan, workplace uniform tees, which put young female employees at the risk of sexual harassment. Yeah, they targeted a local bakery that had a shirt that said the best buns in town, of course referring to bread, a little joke, and they relentlessly went out.
Okay. People of Australia, you need to start standing the fuck up to these bitches. Okay? People of Australia, you need to start telling Collective Shout to go fuck themselves. If they're gonna go after a local bakery because they have a double entendre t-shirt that is cute that says the best buns in town, which by the fucking way is not the first time that double entendre joke has been used in the context with baked goods. That is probably one of the oldest fucking double entendres when it comes to baked goods in existence. Australians, you need to start fighting back against these bitches. You need to start shutting them the fuck down. When they start coming at these companies, clutching their pearls and going, "You're being so sexually oppressive to women," women of Australia, look these bitches dead in the eye and tell them, "Go fuck yourself. Go hide back in your little cave and cry about the fact that we're fine with it, and you need to go hide in your little bubble because the real world hurts you simply by existing." Australians need to start standing up to these people. The Australians simply just need to stand up for themselves. Seriously, the people where this in Brumby, in this where this bakery lids, the people where the people where Brumby's.
Send in the emus.
Yeah. The people that live in the town where Brumby's is located should have all stood up when Collective Shout came after them. They should have stood up and said, "This is our fucking town. This is our fucking bakery. Get the fuck out. You don't get to decide what a business in our town does. Fuck off." That's what needed to happen. So any Australians that are listening to my stream or will be watching this YouTube video when I post it tomorrow, I am telling you right now, you need to start standing up to these bully bitches. You need to start standing up to them and telling them, "We don't give a fuck about your moral superiority. This is our town. This is our country. You don't get to say what we can have and what we can't have." That's what needs to happen in regards to Collective Shout. When Australians start standing up en masse against Collective Shout, that's when they'll shut down. You guys can say that Australians don't have any balls all you want. I am saying Australians, do it. Do this. This is how you fight back against these reeing Karens. You stand up to them and tell them, "I don't fucking care what you have to say. Go clutch your pearls on your fainting couch if you can't handle this. If this bakery is so uncomfortable for you because it has a cute little slogan, A, don't go there. B, go hide in your bubble because the real world hurts you too much."
After them and were successful in basically bullying this small company into changing their ways. But down here, do Madam Savvy and married and father Smash JT think it's okay for employers to facilitate and invite the sexual harassment of girls in the workplace?
Hey, bitch Kennedy? Counterpoint. Do you think it's okay to inflict your moral superiority on a small local business without any fucking proof that they are actually inviting sexual harassment of the girls in the workplace? Kindly show me the evidence where they are inviting sexual harassment of the girls in the workplace. Did you actually speak to the female employees, L.S. Kennedy, of Burnby's Bakery? Did you actually speak to the female employees? And did the female employees actually say, yes, I don't like this slogan because I feel it opens me up to be sexual harassment? Did you actually do that? I'm gonna bet you didn't. You just came in on your moral high horse and assumed that this was the case. You assumed that this slogan would invite sexual harassment, which, by the way, is also sexually stereotyping men. This is L.S. Kennedy. So L.S. Kennedy, I'm going to say this publicly, so L.S. Kennedy thinks that all men are nothing but sexual deviants that have absolutely zero control over their hormones and will just uncontrollably sexually harass or possibly even rape girls simply because they exist as men. That is what L.S. Kennedy and probably Collective Shout thinks, is that men are not human beings. They are just sexual berserkers that will attack any female that happens to cross their eye line simply because they're men. That is how L.S. Kennedy thinks. Hey, men of Australia, are you going to sit back and take this? Are you going to allow L.S. Kennedy to heavily imply that you are uncontrollable sexual berserkers that will just attack any woman simply if she enters into your eye line? Are you going to do that? Or are you going to fucking fight back? It's long past time to start fighting the fuck back. People of Australia, fucking do it. You will have the fucking world on your side. If you're worried about being stigmatized for it, don't. The moment people in Australia start standing up against Collective Shout, the entirety of the fucking planet is going to be right at your backs, cheering you on and ready to help you in any way they can. You've got the backup a lot more than Collective Shout does. Use it. Go to town.
And invite the sexual harassment of girls in the workplace. Sounds like a bit of a threat, doesn't it? Why are you also including this? What are you trying to imply? They're definitely...
Yeah, what they're trying to imply is maybe they're going to try and do a Dean Withering dick, or they're going to try and do an Ethan hater. Are they going to try and do a false CPS report or a false police report claiming that he abuses his family? That's the only reason why I can only think that's the reason why they would put this in here. Is that is a subtle threat.
Making a very vague threat towards these individuals.
Sorry, Rev. And by the way, Smash JT is not above filing a legal suit. Smash JT would not be above filing a form of a harassment suit against Collective Shout, and particularly against this person for trying to dox him and trying to elicit attacks on him.
And that's not surprising. That's how these people operate. They operate on fear. They want to make you feel unsafe, and that's what they do. It's disgusting. And of course, they're mad at people like Savvy because they've been sharing information like this, that you can submit complaints about these companies to them.
Here we go.
And that's something they're legally required to have available for people. And guess what? It's working. Because Visa and MasterCard are getting overwhelmed by the amount of emails and phone calls being made to them. And if you want to do these routes, all I ask is that you be respectful, you have a plan, right? You actually have something to say, a valid point or criticism or set of questions, and you do it in the most professional manner you can, because, you know, just calling up and saying a bunch of nonsense isn't going to help anything. But if you make a solid inquiry on what's going on.
And yes, your question, Smash JT is already in a legal dispute with Alyssa Mercante, although I believe he is in he is the defendant in that case. I believe Alyssa actually filed the suit against Smash JT, so I think Smash JT may be the defendant in that case.
Going on here, I think you can do some really good things and help push back, because as they bullied these companies and these platforms into doing their will, the same thing can be done to remedy it as well. If you complain enough, something should happen. It's not a guarantee, but it's better than nothing, right? So it's going to be a long road. There's a lot going on. Like I said, it feels like we're in a new era of censorship, and there's so much more to talk about, and I will in the coming days, but this already was dragging on for almost 20 minutes, so we're going to end it here. So, as always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's
Revan,
topics
hang
in the
on a
comment
second.
section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.
Okay, so, Revan, to your comment of like, let's not act like a phone call means anything. That's not the point about it. The point of making these calls and these emails to Visa and MasterCard is, number one, they have to take the time to respond to that. Especially with the phone calls. They legally have to answer the calls and legally talk to someone, particularly if someone is being respectful. That's why Reb said, don't call them up and just start screaming at them. Have a plan, call them up, ask pertinent questions, make respectable statements, and don't just start screaming. Because if you are perfectly respectable and calm when you call them about this, they have to listen to you. If they just hang up on you, if you call up Visa and MasterCard and you say, I want to talk to you about what's happening with these payment processors, or talked with what's been happening where you've been basically forcing Steam to delist videos, or video ins, and they hang up on you, that's against the law for them to do that. They have to listen to, they can't just hang up on you when you are being perfectly respectful, when you're not being violently verbal towards them off the jump. They have to listen to you. So it is a two-pronged attack. Number one, you're clogging their phone lines. You're clogging the shit out of their phone lines. When they're getting thousands of calls every hour, you are clogging up their phone lines and thus making it difficult for them to do business. That's number one. Making it difficult to do business means loss of money. Number two, this is where the big monetary thing is. Every time someone calls Visa or MasterCard customer support line, Visa and MasterCard pays a fee for that phone call. So you're not only disrupting their business, which costs them money, the phone call itself, by simply making the phone call, incurs a fee with Visa and MasterCard that Visa and MasterCard has to pay for every single phone call. I have no idea what this fee is. But every call that they field incurs a fee. So you're hitting them in the bank account with this by the thousands. So that is why Madam Savvy and why Reb was talking about this, of encouraging people to call the customer support lines, doing so respectfully so that they have to talk to you. They can't just hang up the phone on you. But by basically, you're going to cost them money by doing this. And that's basically the campaign. This is the way to protest Visa and MasterCard. This is how you do it. You email the crap out of them and you call their customer support lines, clogging up their lines so it makes that so they can't do business, and that costs them money, and they have to pay the fees on every time they answer the phone. And no, Alex, you can't. No, don't. As soon as they answer, hang up and call again. No, don't do that. If you are going to, oh, you were joking. Okay. But I will say again, if you want to take part in this and call Visa and MasterCard, like Red said, have a plan. Think of what you want to ask them. Think of what you want to say to them, and do so in a calm and respectful manner. That is how you will get them. because you're speaking calmly and rationally. You don't give them excuse to hang up, and you're costing them money with every time you call. That's how you do it. It may not seem like much, but this is the most effective means of protest against Visa and MasterCard right now until we get some kind of movement from the governments. This is what we got.